Hello everyone, if you love touching animal stories and want to follow the inspiring journey of these adorable friends, don't forget to hit the subscribe button now so you won't miss any of our videos. Now, let's dive into today's emotional story. The auctioneer's gavel struck the wooden podium with a resounding crack. Sold to the young lady in the back. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowded barn as a girl, barely 11 years old, squeezed past towering adults, her hands tightly gripping a worn coffee tin filled with crumpled bills and coins. Sophie Reynolds took a deep breath, willing her heart to slow as she approached the pen where a frail German shepherd cowered in the corner, his ribs jutting out beneath a dull, patchy coat. His amber eyes, clouded with exhaustion and fear, met hers for just a moment before he turned away. "That dog ain't worth the trouble, kid," the auctioneer warned, counting her hard-earned savings with a skeptical glance. "He failed out of the service dog program, got returned twice. Might be sick, definitely untrainable." Sophie ignored the whispers around her. She knew what they saw, a scrawny, broken creature no one wanted. But she saw something else, something deep in those weary amber eyes. A spark that hadn't been completely extinguished. "I'll take him now, please," she said firmly. The auctioneer sighed, shaking his head, but handed her the paperwork. The deal was done. Sophie knelt by the fence and reached a trembling hand through the wire mesh. "Hey there, buddy, it's okay now, you're coming home with me." The dog flinched at first, but then hesitated, his nose twitching as he sniffed her scent. It was the first moment of trust in what Sophie knew would be a long journey. Sophie had always been different from other kids in her small town. While her classmates saved up for candy or new toys, she hoarded every penny in a battered tin her father had once used to store nails. She had been saving for something important, though she hadn't known exactly what until now. Her father, Daniel Reynolds, had been a well-known dog trainer in their rural town before his sudden passing just over a year ago. His death had left a gaping hole in her heart, a void she had struggled to fill. But in those long months of grief, she had found solace in his old notebooks, filled with scribbled notes on canine behavior and training techniques. "You have your dad's way with animals," Soph, her mother, Rachel, had often told her, watching as Sophie calmed anxious pets at the local shelter or coaxed a nervous stray into accepting food. It was her father's legacy, and she carried it fiercely. When Sophie heard about the county auction, she hadn't planned on bidding. She had only gone to see the dogs, former service animals, who had been abandoned when their training facility went bankrupt. But then she saw him, the thin German shepherd lying motionless in the farthest pen, so still she had thought he was dead at first. And now, he was hers. Rachel Reynolds wasn't pleased when she arrived at the fairgrounds to pick Sophie up and found her daughter standing beside a trembling dog with a folder of paperwork tucked under one arm. Her mother's expression shifted from shock to frustration to something else, something softer, when she got a good look at the animal's condition. "Sophie," Rachel began, rubbing her temple, "we can't afford." "I used Dad's emergency fund," Sophie interrupted quickly, looking up at her mother with pleading eyes. "I know what I'm doing, Mom. I can help him." Just like Dad would have, Rachel exhaled slowly, her shoulders sagging. The emergency fund had been modest, set aside for unforeseen expenses, but Sophie had made her choice. And deep down, Rachel saw something in her daughter's eyes that reminded her of Daniel: determination, resilience, and the unwavering belief that every dog deserved a chance. "All right," she relented, running a tired hand through her hair. "But you're responsible for him. Every vet bill, every training session. You're handling it." "Understood." Sophie nodded vigorously, understood. As they drove home, the dog, whom Sophie decided to name Titan, lay curled up in the back seat, his head resting hesitantly on her lap. He was too weak to move much, but his breathing was steady. Every now and then, his eyes fluttered open, as if trying to understand why this small human had chosen him when everyone else had turned away. Sophie stroked his bony shoulder gently. "You're safe now, Titan. I promise." Outside, the rolling countryside stretched into the horizon, golden fields blending into the dusky sky. But inside the car, a new journey was beginning, a journey that neither Sophie nor Titan knew would change both of their lives forever. The journey home was quiet, filled with the rhythmic sound of tires rolling against the pavement. Anna sat in the back seat, her hands gently stroking the German shepherd's coarse fur. The dog, whom she had decided to name Max, lay stretched across the seat, too weak to sit upright. Every few minutes, he let out a low, exhausted sigh, his amber eyes fluttering open before closing again. Anna's heart ached as she noticed the way his ribs jutted out from beneath his dull coat. "Mom, we have to help him," she whispered, barely audible over the hum of the car's engine. Her mother, Claire, let out a slow breath, gripping the steering wheel tightly. "I know, sweetheart," she said, "but we have to be realistic. The vet bills alone might be more than we can afford." Anna didn't respond. She knew money had been tight since her father passed away 2 years ago. Her mother worked long shifts at the local diner just to keep their small farmhouse running. But looking down at Max, she couldn't accept the idea of giving up on him, not now. Not when she had already made a silent promise to him back at the auction. As they pulled into their driveway, a familiar face was waiting for them. Mrs. Whitaker, their elderly neighbor, stood on the porch with a warm smile. Her silver hair was pulled into a loose bun, and she held a small basket in her hands. "I heard about your little adventure," she said, stepping forward. "And I figured you could use some supplies." Anna's eyes widened as she saw what was inside: a soft blanket, a few cans of dog food, and a bottle of special vitamins for dogs in recovery. "Oh, Mrs. Whitaker," Claire said, shaking her head in gratitude. "You didn't have to." "Nonsense," the older woman interrupted. "That poor boy needs all the help he can get. And I have a feeling he's in the right hands." Anna carefully wrapped Max in the blanket and carried him inside. She laid him down on a makeshift bed in the kitchen, ensuring he was as comfortable as possible. That night, as the house grew quiet and the wind whispered against the windows, Anna sat beside Max, reading softly from one of her father's old books on dog training. She didn't know if he understood, but she hoped the sound of her voice was comforting. The next morning, they took Max to Dr. Bennett, the town's veterinarian. As they entered the clinic, Max's ears twitched at the sound of barking dogs and meowing cats, but he remained motionless, too weak to react. Dr. Bennett, a kind-faced man in his late 50s, examined Max with gentle hands. He listened to his heartbeat, checked his reflexes, and inspected his fur. "He's malnourished, severely dehydrated, and has signs of long-term neglect," Dr. Bennett finally said, standing up. "But the real concern is his seizures." Claire's face fell. "Seizures," Dr. Bennett nodded. "According to the auction records, he was returned twice because of them. It's likely neurological, but without further tests, I can't say for sure. What I can tell you is that with proper care, he still has a chance." Anna tightened her grip on Max's paw. "Then we'll do whatever it takes." The vet smiled, admiration in his eyes. "That's what I was hoping you'd say." He prescribed a special diet, medication for the seizures, and a slow reintroduction to physical activity. "It won't be easy," he warned. "There will be setbacks. But if anyone can do this, it's you." Over the next few weeks, Max's recovery was slow but steady. Anna followed the vet's instructions religiously, waking up early to give him his medication and preparing meals according to the prescribed diet. She celebrated every small victory: the first time he lifted his head on his own, the first wag of his tail, the first time he took a few shaky steps outside. Mrs. Whitaker continued to visit, bringing new supplies and warm words of encouragement. Even Claire, who had initially been hesitant, found herself growing attached to Max. One evening, after dinner, Claire sat down beside Anna, watching as Max dozed by the fireplace. "You really believe he was meant to be yours, don't you?" she asked softly. Anna nodded. "It's like he was waiting for someone to see him, really see him." Claire smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind Anna's ear. "Then I suppose we better do everything we can to prove him right." With that, Anna knew they were in this together, not just for Max, but for the future they were beginning to rebuild, one small step at a time. As the days turned into weeks, Lily and Max grew closer, their bonds strengthening in ways neither of them could have imagined. Max, once frail and hesitant, began to show signs of his former self, responding to Lily's voice with gentle tail wags and slowly regaining his strength. Despite his progress, Max's health remained fragile. Lily spent hours by his side, reading aloud from her father's old journals about dog training and rehabilitation. Each word she spoke carried the weight of her father's legacy, reminding her of the deep connection they had shared through their mutual love of animals. One evening, as the sun cast a golden glow over their small backyard, Lily noticed Max staring intently at the sky. She followed his gaze and saw a flock of birds soaring effortlessly above them. Max let out a soft whimper and inched closer to her, resting his head against her knee. It was in that moment that Lily understood. Max wasn't just recovering physically, he was healing emotionally, just like she was. Determined to help him further, Lily decided to take Max on short walks outside their property. At first, he was hesitant, his body still weak from months of neglect. But Lily was patient, encouraging him with soft whispers and gentle strokes. Their first walk was no more than a few steps down the driveway before Max tired and Lily carried him back inside. But each day, they walked a little farther, his confidence growing with every step. The townspeople soon took notice. Mrs. Reynolds, their elderly neighbor, watched from her porch one afternoon as Lily guided Max around the yard. "That dog's got spirit," she called out with a knowing smile. Just like his owner, Lily blushed but felt a newfound pride swell within her. She was no longer just a grieving girl, she was a healer, a protector, just as her father had been. One afternoon, as they approached the town square, a small crowd gathered. People were curious about Max, the dog who had been considered untrainable. Lily saw some familiar faces, parents of children with disabilities, elderly folks who had once owned service dogs, and others who simply cared for animals. They asked questions, eager to hear Max's story. "Why did you choose him?" a young boy asked, his wide eyes fixed on Max. Lily thought for a moment before replying. "Because he needed someone to believe in him, just like all of us do sometimes." Her words resonated, and soon, people were sharing their own stories, of pets they had rescued, of struggles they had faced, of hope they had found in unexpected places. Max sat quietly by her side, his eyes bright and alert. It was as if he understood that this moment was bigger than just the two of them. As the weeks passed, Max's transformation became undeniable. His coat grew shinier, his once protruding ribs were now hidden beneath healthy muscle, and his eyes, once dull and defeated, now shone with life. But more than that, Max had become a source of comfort for others, not just for Lily. One day, a mother approached Lily with her young daughter, who had been diagnosed with autism. "She doesn't talk much," the woman explains softly, "but she responds to animals in ways she doesn't with people. Would it be okay if she spent a little time with Max?" Lily nodded, and the little girl knelt beside Max, gently placing her hand on his back. Max remained still, allowing her to explore his fur with curious fingers. Then, something remarkable happened, she whispered, soft. Her mother gasped, tears welling in her eyes. It was the first word she had spoken in weeks. That night, as Lily lay in bed with Max curled up beside her, she reflected on how much had changed since that fateful day at the auction. She had gone there expecting to save a dog, but in reality, Max had saved her too. He had given her purpose, reminded her of the kindness her father had taught her, and most importantly, shown her that healing was possible, not just for him, but for her as well. As she drifted off to sleep, she whispered into the darkness, "We're going to be okay, Max. We're going to help people, just like Dad would have wanted." Max let out a soft sigh and nuzzled closer, as if to say, "Yes, we will." And for the first time in a long while, Lily truly believed it. The days turned into weeks, and Max's transformation was nothing short of a miracle. His once dull coat had regained its shine, His ribs were no longer protruding, and his eyes sparkled with life. The German shepherd, who once cowered in fear, now stood tall, his ears alert and his tail wagging with confidence. Every morning, he would wait by the front door, eager for his daily training sessions with Noah. At first, Noah was hesitant. He was used to being withdrawn, to avoiding too much interaction with others. But Max had a way of breaking down those walls. He would nuzzle against Noah whenever he sensed his anxiety creeping in, his warm presence a reminder that he was never alone. The two became inseparable, and soon, Noah was doing things his parents never thought possible. He was smiling more, speaking in full sentences without hesitation, and even making eye contact with others. One crisp autumn afternoon, Noah's therapist, Dr. Lewis, paid them a visit. She had been following his progress closely and was astonished by the change in him. "Noah, would you like to show me what you and Max have been working on?" she asked gently. Noah glanced at his parents, then down at Max, who sat patiently beside him. Taking a deep breath, he gave a command, "Max, sit." Without hesitation, Max obeyed, his amber eyes locked onto Noah with unwavering trust. The boy's face lit up with pride. "Good job, buddy," his father, Ethan, praised, his voice filled with emotion. Dr. Lewis smiled warmly. "This is incredible. The bond between them is remarkable." She turned to Noah's parents. "Max is not just a companion. He's a lifeline for Noah. The progress he's made is beyond what traditional therapy alone could have achieved." Sophie wiped away a tear. "We knew Max was special the moment we saw him, but we never imagined he would change Noah's life like this." That evening, as the family sat together in their cozy living room, Ethan received a call from the local news station. Word of Max's rescue and his incredible impact on Noah had spread, and they wanted to do a feature story on them. The thought of being in the public eye made Noah nervous, but when he looked at Max, he found the courage to agree. A week later, a reporter and a camera crew arrived at their home. The interview was conducted in their backyard, where Noah and Max spent most of their time together. The boy, though still a bit shy, spoke clearly about how Max had helped him feel safe, how he had learned to trust and communicate better because of him. At the end of the interview, the reporter asked, "Noah, if you could say one thing to Max, what would it be?" Noah turned to his loyal companion, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you for choosing me." The story aired that evening, touching hearts across the community. Messages of support poured in, and offers to help with Max's ongoing training and medical care followed. A local veterinarian offered to provide free checkups, and a dog trainer specializing in service animals volunteered to help refine Max's skills. The town, once skeptical of a boy and his damaged dog, now saw them as an inspiration. Parents of children with special needs reached out, eager to learn more about how therapy animals could help their own families. What started as a simple act of kindness, rescuing a forgotten dog at an auction, had grown into something much bigger than any of them had expected. Months passed, and Max continued to thrive. One snowy morning, as Noah and Max played outside, Sophie watched from the porch, her heart swelling with pride. Ethan wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "We did the right thing," he murmured. She nodded. "Not just for Max, but for Noah, for all of us." Inside the house, a framed picture sat on the mantel. It was from the day of the interview, Noah standing tall with Max at his side, a look of quiet confidence on his face. Beneath the photo was a small plaque with Noah's words, "Thank you for choosing me." Max wasn't just a rescue dog, he was family. And he had found his true purpose, not despite his past, but because of it. Message from the story. The story of Noah and Max is not just a tale of recovery, but a testament to the power of compassion, perseverance, and believing in the impossible. Max, an abandoned and sick dog, found hope through the determination of a brave young boy. But what makes this story truly special is that the rescue was mutual. Max also helped Noah rediscover purpose in life after his painful loss. Through this journey, we learn that sometimes what society deems as worthless or discarded holds immense hidden value. A person or an animal, no matter how broken, can still make a difference when someone believes in them. Life is full of challenges, but it is those very challenges that make us stronger. Max was not just a rescued dog. He became a protector, a source of hope for Noah. Love and compassion have the power to change everything, and sometimes the greatest form of salvation comes when we choose to help one another.